So today we're going to talk about red flags that we as a surety see with a lot of contractors that gets them into trouble. These can range from a myriad of different things, but I'm going to focus just on really two. The first one I'm going to focus on is taking on a job that's outside of what your specialty is. For instance, if you typically build banks and you want to go build a school, well, there's a lot more intricacies and every job's got its difficulties. So we're going to look at that and be like, why does this make sense? So you don't want to get out of what you typically do and get in too deep, and then all of a sudden you're doing something. It'd be just like me. I'm a specialist in surety, but if I went out tomorrow and decided I want to work in construction, somebody would probably think I was crazy.
As I think about red flags in the business, some of the things I think of is a contractor presenting us with a bond opportunity for a job that's outside of the normal scope of the work you've done before, maybe outside of the normal geographical area that you've done before. So if you're a guy that builds concrete water tanks in Utah, it might be odd if you're presenting us with an opportunity that you'd like to build a high school in Nevada. So while even if something does trigger a red flag, like the work appears to be outside your normal scope or seems to be in a different territory, if it makes sense to you, we want to hear your story on why it makes sense, and we'll try to make it sense for us as well. Hopefully we can get to writing that bond for you.
Cash. It's the most important thing that a contractor can have. I had a boss who once told me that contractors go out of business not because they run out of equity, but because they run out of cash. And that's influenced me throughout my entire career. So I pay close attention not just to cash, but the drivers of it. You can take a look at a balance sheet and a contractor might have a strong cash balance, but if they have more payables than receivables, they have more overbillings than underbillings, or they owe a lot on their bank line, they really might not have as much cash as that balance sheet would suggest. Conversely, you might have a contractor with a low cash balance, but they might have a lot more receivables than they do payables and some good, strong cash flow yet to come. So you can rest assured that that cash balance is going to improve and the overall financial health of that contractor is probably pretty sound.
So, and then the second one is working a job that's outside of the geography that you're typically working in. You might see something and be like, oh, this is a perfect job, but it's 2 states over. You've never worked that far away, or you've never worked in that area. You could have different soil conditions, whereas here we're obviously in the desert, but if you went to Colorado, you wouldn't be dealing with sand, you'd be dealing with rocks. And it's a whole different type of ball game when you do something like that. So it's really important. You've got to know that your subs where you're going to be are going to be good. You need to know the owners. You just really have to build all of this into your plan because it's a lot different than you get up and go to work in the morning. You've got to have people living over there for months on end to get this work done.
A red flag to the bonding company is whenever you as a contractor want to take it up a step and do a job that's significantly larger than you've done before. It's a red flag and a caution to the surety company because we are basically pre-qualifying you when we give you the bid bond to bid that project, and that's based on what your qualifications are. If you're going to do something that's significantly larger, we want to know and understand what due diligence you've done with regard to understanding the scope of work and the next step up and everything that's going to be new and different from what you've done already, so that we can understand your plan as to why you have confidence to take this next step at such a high level that we can evaluate that and give you feedback on different lessons learned that we've observed as far as areas to watch out when you're taking that next big step.
One of those big ones that everybody discusses is increasing your single job size. So the complexity of building a $1 million building versus a $15 million building, completely different. So getting your surety involved from the get-go, letting us understand your thought process, getting your lawyer involved to read the contracts, good relationships with your banker, get the bank line in place, just really getting out there early, getting ahead of the ball, getting everybody on your team involved.
There's a number of red flags that we see in the surety industry that can be of concern to contractors. One of those concerns has to do with job size. The larger a job size is, the more technically difficult that project generally is. When contractors stray from their normal job size and go into larger work, this does provide some additional complexities within that work. Those complexities can cause contractor failure. However, by talking to your surety underwriter, you can be assured that we can provide you with the best information possible to help you succeed.